She was supposed to be home. She was supposed to hold their babies. She was supposed to be alive. But on that cold November morning, Marcus received the call that changed everything. His pregnant wife, Sarah, had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a desperate man drowning in desperation. If you can't handle emotional stories that will leave you devastated, stop watching now, because what you're about to see is raw, real, and absolutely heartbreaking. Sarah discovered she was carrying twins at 5 months. The joy should have been endless. But that joy turned into something darker, something terrifying. Marcus rushed to the hospital when the doctors called him in the middle of the night. Sarah was experiencing severe complications. Her blood pressure was dangerously high. The doctors warned him she might not survive the delivery. In those terrifying moments, Marcus made a promise to God, to fate, to anyone listening. He would do anything, anything at all, to keep his wife and his unborn children alive. But then everything changed in an instant. Sarah refused the emergency cesarean section. She demanded to leave the hospital. The doctors begged her to stay, but she was adamant. Something had triggered a fear in her so profound that risking her own life seemed better than staying in that hospital bed. Marcus tried to hold her hand, tried to convince her to stay, but Sarah looked at him with eyes full of betrayal and whispered something that shattered him completely. "You don't understand what's happening here," she said. "None of you do." Then she walked out of that hospital, 8 months pregnant with twins, despite every medical warning screaming at her not to leave. Marcus followed her into the parking lot, desperately pleading with her to come back inside. But Sarah's hands were shaking. Her eyes were darting around like she was looking for something or someone. She finally turned to him and said words that would haunt him for the rest of his life. "If you really love me, you'll let me go. Don't come looking for me. Don't try to find me." And before Marcus could respond, before he could grab her, a black car pulled up beside them. The window rolled down slowly. Marcus couldn't see who was inside. Sarah moved toward the car without hesitation, without looking back. Marcus tried to run toward them, but the car accelerated and disappeared into the darkness. For 42 days, there was nothing but silence. 42 days of not knowing if his wife was alive or dead. 42 days of police investigations that led nowhere. Of desperate pleas on social media. Of his heart breaking into pieces with every passing hour. The police suggested she might have been abducted, that something sinister had occurred. But Marcus knew better. The way Sarah looked at him in that moment, the words she spoke, they weren't the words of someone being forced. They were the words of someone running away. But why would she run? What could be so terrifying that she would risk her life and the lives of their unborn children? Marcus hired private investigators. He spent everything he had. He checked hospitals in 3 states. He contacted every shelter, every clinic, every place where a pregnant woman might hide. And then, on day 43, his phone rang. It was a woman from a small town in North Carolina. She said she had information about Sarah. Marcus's heart stopped. He drove through the night, not knowing what he would find, terrified of the truth, and desperate to know it all at the same time. When he arrived at the small clinic in the middle of nowhere, a doctor pulled him aside and said something that made his blood run cold. "Your wife made it through the delivery. The twins are alive and healthy. But there's something you need to know about where she's been and who she's been with." Marcus felt like the ground was disappearing beneath his feet. His babies were alive. Sarah was alive. But the mystery only deepened, because the doctor's next words revealed a betrayal so profound, so devastating, that it would change everything Marcus thought he knew about the woman he loved. What happened next would shatter his entire world. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who loves emotional twists, because you absolutely won't believe what comes next. The doctor led Marcus into a private room. His hands were trembling so badly he could barely walk. He was about to see his wife and his newborn twins for the first time in over 40 days. But when the doctor spoke, his words twisted Marcus's stomach into knots. "Your wife is stable, but she's been through significant trauma. The twins were delivered safely, but we need to discuss what she told us about her situation." Marcus's mind raced. Trauma? What had happened to Sarah in those missing days? The doctor continued. She mentioned that she didn't feel safe at your house. She said she was running from someone. She wouldn't tell us who, but she was terrified. Marcus's confusion turned to horror. Was someone threatening her? Had someone attacked her? Was this kidnapping? Was this domestic violence? His thoughts spiraled into chaos as he pushed open the hospital room door. There, in a small bed, was Sarah. She looked pale, exhausted, broken, but she was alive. And in her arms, wrapped in tiny blankets, were their twins. Marcus moved toward her, tears streaming down his face, but Sarah flinched. She actually flinched away from him. "Marcus, please, just listen before you say anything," she whispered, her voice hoarse and weak. His heart shattered seeing her fear him. "I'm not here to hurt you. I came to find you. I came to bring you home," Marcus said, his voice breaking. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "That's just it," she said. "I can't go home. I can't go back to our old life because our old life was built on a lie. Your lie." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. A lie? What lie? He had been nothing but faithful to Sarah. He had loved her with every fiber of his being. "Sarah, I don't understand. What are you talking about?" Sarah closed her eyes, exhausted. She asked the nurse to take the babies to the nursery for a few hours. She needed to tell Marcus everything. Once they were alone, Sarah revealed a truth that Marcus never could have anticipated. "Do you remember when we first met? At that coffee shop? You told me it was fate. You told me you felt like we were meant to be together. You said you'd never felt that way about anyone before." Marcus nodded, confused. "I lied to you, Marcus. I was already in a relationship, a serious one. I was with someone else when we met." The words felt like daggers. "But I ended it with him to be with you," she continued. "I thought it was the right decision. I thought what we had was special, real, true." Sarah took a shaky breath. "That man, the one I left, he never accepted it. He followed me for years. He watched me from a distance, waiting for his moment. When I got pregnant, when I became vulnerable, he made his move." Marcus's protective instinct kicked in. "Where is he now? I'll go to the police. I'll make sure he never comes near you again." But Sarah shook her head slowly. "That's the thing, Marcus. He didn't kidnap me. I called him." The confession hung in the air between them like a guillotine blade. "What?" Marcus whispered. "I was so scared. The complications with the pregnancy, the doctor saying I might not survive. I was terrified. And I realized something in that moment of fear. I realized I had made a terrible mistake choosing you." Marcus felt his entire world collapse. "I called him because I needed to feel safe. I needed someone who wouldn't judge me for being afraid. Someone who would just hold me and tell me everything would be okay. And he came. He came immediately, Marcus. Without hesitation. Without question." Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she continued. "He took me to a small house in North Carolina where his sister is a midwife. He stayed with me the entire labor. He held my hand during every contraction. He told me our babies were going to be beautiful. He was there for me in a way you weren't." Marcus stood up, pacing the small room, feeling betrayed and confused and angry all at once. "So what now? You're leaving me. You're taking my children and running away with some obsessed ex-boyfriend." Sarah winced at his words. "He's not obsessed, Marcus. He's the man I should have chosen from the beginning. And yes, I'm leaving you. The babies and I are going to start a new life with him." But just as Marcus was absorbing this devastating revelation, there was a knock on the door. A man entered, tall, dark eyes, wearing a gentle smile that made Marcus's blood boil. He walked directly to Sarah and kissed her forehead. "The babies are sleeping peacefully," he said softly. Then he turned to face Marcus, and what happened next would prove that this story was far more complicated than anyone could have imagined. The man extended his hand to Marcus and said something that changed everything. "I know this is hard to understand, but I need to tell you something about Sarah that she probably didn't mention. Something that will make you understand why she had to leave." Marcus's eyes widened. What could possibly make this situation worse? What revelation could possibly change how he felt about his wife's betrayal? The answer was about to destroy everything, and Marcus wasn't prepared for it. If you're as shocked as Marcus right now, Hit that like button and subscribe because the next episode will absolutely blow your mind with a twist you never saw coming. Marcus stared at the man standing before him, rage burning in his chest like wildfire. But before he could throw a punch or demand answers, the man spoke with a calm, almost apologetic tone that cut through Marcus's anger like ice water. "My name is David. I've known Sarah since we were in college, and I need to tell you something about her that she's been keeping from you for 5 years. Marcus clenched his fists. "The only thing I want to know is why my wife is choosing you over our family." David took a deep breath and sat down slowly. "Sarah is keeping a secret that almost cost her life during this pregnancy." Sarah looked away, shame written all over her face. David continued, "When Sarah was with me, she was sick, extremely sick. She had been diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease that makes pregnancy incredibly dangerous. The stress from that diagnosis, combined with other factors, caused her to make a choice she's regretted ever since." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "She ended our relationship to escape that pain, Marcus. She thought if she started fresh, if she moved to a new city with a new man who didn't know about her illness, maybe she could pretend it wasn't real. Maybe she could be normal." Sarah's voice broke as she explained, "The disease is manageable with medication, but during pregnancy, the medication could harm the babies. So I had to choose between my health and theirs. I was so terrified. The pain, the complications, I felt like I was dying." David's eyes softened as he looked at Sarah. "When she got pregnant with the twins, her condition deteriorated rapidly. She called me because I understood what she was going through. I had been there when she was first diagnosed. I knew how to help her." Marcus sat down, his anger transforming into confusion and concern. "Why didn't you just tell me about the disease? Why run away? I would have helped you. I would have stayed by your side." Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. "Because you married me thinking I was healthy, thinking I was whole. I was afraid that if you knew the truth, you'd resent me, you'd resent the burden, you'd stay out of obligation instead of love." The room fell silent, except for the sound of Sarah's quiet sobs. Marcus realized that his wife had been suffering alone, carrying a secret that had festered in her heart until it drove her to make the most desperate decision of her life. But then David did something unexpected. He stood up and walked to Marcus, placing a hand on his shoulder. "I didn't bring her here to steal her from you. I brought her here to save her life. But now that she's healthy, now that the babies are safe, there's something else you need to know." David's next words would shift the entire narrative again, revealing a truth that had been hidden from everyone. "Sarah's disease is genetic, Marcus. Her mother had it. Her sister has it. There's a chance your children might develop it too. And there's something in Sarah's family medical history that could affect how we treat them." Marcus felt his protective instincts rising. "What are you saying? Are you saying my children could get sick?" David shook his head. "What I'm saying is that Sarah needs ongoing medical support from specialists who understand her condition. She needs someone who has been through this journey with her. She needs someone who won't judge her for her limitations." Sarah interrupted. "But Marcus, that person doesn't have to be David." She looked directly at Marcus, and her eyes held something new, something that looked like hope. "David has been helping me, yes, but he's been helping me find myself again. He's been helping me realize that I don't have to hide who I am, that I don't have to pretend to be someone I'm not." Sarah took a shaky breath. "I called you here, Marcus, because you deserve to know the truth. All of it. Not just the disease, but the fact that I'm terrified of going back to a life where I had to lie about something this fundamental." Marcus's head was spinning. He looked at his wife, at the man who had been her first love, at the impossible situation before him. But then, something shifted in his understanding. This wasn't a story of betrayal. This was a story of a woman fighting for her life, for her identity, for her truth. And the question wasn't whether she loved her children or whether she loved him. The question was whether she loved herself enough to be honest about who she was. David spoke again, his voice gentle but firm. "I'm going to step out of this room now. What Sarah does next is her choice. Where she goes next, who she chooses to be with, that's not my decision to make. I just came to make sure she survived." He turned to Sarah and smiled. "You're going to be an amazing mother. Those babies are lucky to have you." Then he walked out, leaving Marcus and Sarah alone with their newborn twins and a future that was still being written. But just as Marcus was about to reach for his wife's hand, a nurse rushed in with urgent news that would throw everything into chaos once more. "We need to run some tests on the babies immediately," the nurse said, her voice tense. "We've noticed some concerning markers in their blood work. We think we might have found something." Sarah went pale. Marcus felt his heart stop. Their worst fear might be coming true. The twins might be sick. And in that moment of terror, Marcus realized that all the drama about relationships and choices and truth suddenly became meaningless. What mattered was saving his children's lives. What mattered was that Sarah had been right all along. If you're experiencing this emotional roller coaster with us, please like and subscribe, because the final episode will reveal whether the babies survive and what happens when Marcus finally understands what true love really means. The pediatrician entered the room with a grave expression on his face. Sarah grabbed Marcus's hand, and for the first time since this entire ordeal began, they were united in their terror. "We've completed the tests on both infants," the doctor began, "and I need to discuss the results with you." Sarah squeezed Marcus's hand so hard it hurt, but Marcus didn't care. He was bracing himself for the worst news of his life. The doctor continued. "The markers we found in their blood work initially seemed concerning, but upon further analysis, we've determined that both children are perfectly healthy. In fact, they show no signs of autoimmune disease. They are strong, resilient, and thriving." Sarah let out a sob of relief that shook her entire body. Marcus pulled her close, tears streaming down his face. His babies were okay. His babies were going to live. But the doctor wasn't finished. "However, I do need to speak with Sarah about her own condition. The delivery was extremely stressful on her body, and we need to begin treatment immediately to prevent further complications." Sarah nodded, still trembling with relief and exhaustion. After the doctor left, Marcus sat beside his wife and their sleeping newborn twins, and something shifted deep inside him. He realized that this entire ordeal had shown him something he had been blind to. His wife had been suffering in silence, carrying a burden that was slowly destroying her. And instead of sharing that burden with him, she had run away. And that wasn't because he was a bad man or a bad husband. It was because she was afraid. Afraid of being pitied, afraid of being seen as less than, afraid of burdening the people she loved. Marcus took her hand and said something she had never expected to hear. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry that you felt you had to hide this from me. I'm sorry that you thought my love was conditional on your health. I'm sorry that I wasn't the man you needed me to be when you were falling apart." Sarah looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Marcus, you did nothing wrong. This is on me. I made the choice to run. I made the choice to lie." But Marcus shook his head. "No. This is on both of us. Because if you felt safe enough to tell me the truth, we could have faced this together. And I failed to create that safety for you." Over the next several weeks, as Sarah recovered, and the twins grew stronger, Marcus made a commitment to change. He went to therapy. He learned about autoimmune diseases and what his wife was going through. He talked to David, and to his surprise, they developed a respectful friendship based on their shared concern for Sarah's well-being. David explained that he had never stopped loving Sarah, but he had learned that love sometimes means letting someone go. He had brought her to safety, but he knew that her future had to be her own choice. Sarah slowly began to open up about her struggle with her identity and her disease. She started a support group for people living with autoimmune conditions. She wrote about her journey and helped other women understand that being sick didn't make them any less worthy of love. Marcus supported her every step of the way. And 3 months after the twins were born, on a quiet evening at home, Sarah said something to Marcus that proved their marriage could actually survive the truth. "I think I finally understand what love really is," she said. "It's not about pretending to be perfect. It's not about hiding your flaws or your pain. It's about finding someone who loves you when you're broken. Someone who stays when it would be easier to leave." Marcus kissed her forehead gently. Then I love you, Sarah. I love you broken. I love you sick. I love you scared. I love you true. The twins grew up healthy and strong. Sarah's disease was managed, and she thrived as a mother and an advocate. Marcus became the man his wife needed him to be, not through perfection, but through presence and acceptance. And David remained a friend to the family, a reminder that sometimes the people we love most are the ones who help us find our way home to ourselves. This story teaches us that love isn't about fixing people or making them whole. Love is about accepting people as they are and helping them accept themselves. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is tell the truth. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do is let go. And sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is stay. If this story moved you, if it made you cry, if it made you think about what love really means, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories that will touch your heart and change your perspective on life. Share this video with someone you love, because we all need reminders that love is worth fighting for, even when it's messy and complicated and real. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Wait. Don't click away yet. This story didn't actually end there. There's something I didn't tell you, something that will completely change how you see everything that just happened. Before you leave this channel, you need to know the truth. But first, if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. Hit that subscribe button because what I'm about to reveal will shock you to your core. This channel is dedicated to bringing you the most emotional, most twisted, most incredible true stories that will leave you speechless. Stories about love, betrayal, redemption, and the strength of the human spirit. If you loved Marcus and Sarah's journey, you're going to absolutely lose your mind when you hear what comes next. So please, subscribe now and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Now, let me tell you the part of the story that nobody knew. 3 years after the twins were born, after Sarah had recovered, after Marcus thought their life had finally found peace, there was a knock on their door, late at night. It was a woman Marcus had never seen before. She was holding a folder filled with documents, and her hands were shaking. She asked to speak with Sarah privately. When Sarah came out of that room 30 minutes later, she looked like she had seen a ghost. Marcus asked her what was going on, but Sarah couldn't speak. She just handed him the folder with tears streaming down her face. Inside were adoption papers. Legal documents revealing that Sarah had a biological sister she never knew existed. A sister who had been looking for her for years. A sister who was actually David's wife. This revelation meant that David had known about Sarah's connection to his family all along. He hadn't just been her ex-boyfriend trying to win her back. He'd been sent to find her by the sister they shared. A sister Sarah's parents had hidden from her entire life. The reason Sarah's disease was genetic wasn't just about her mother. It was because Sarah's biological mother was David's wife's mother too. Their parents had separated before Sarah was born, and her mother had kept this secret for decades. Sarah had a twin sister out there, an identical twin, who also had the autoimmune disease. And she had been searching for Sarah to tell her that their mother had just been diagnosed with a terminal illness and wanted to see both her daughters before it was too late. Sarah fell to her knees in shock. Everything she thought she knew about her identity, about her family, about why this was all happening, was turned upside down in an instant. Marcus held her as she cried, realizing that David hadn't been trying to manipulate her at all. He had been trying to reunite her with her family. He had been trying to save not just her life, but her soul. The story of Marcus and Sarah wasn't just about a marriage surviving truth and illness. It was about a woman discovering who she really was and finding family she never knew she had. And it all started because she was brave enough to run toward herself instead of away from her pain. If you want to know what happens next, if you want to hear about Sarah's reunion with her sister and her mother, you absolutely have to like this video and subscribe to our channel right now. This story is far from over, and the best parts are still coming. Share this video with your friends, with your family, with anyone who needs to know that life is full of unexpected miracles and second chances. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You won't regret it.